Welcome to Papa's Workshop. Christmas is just around the corner, and it's no better time to be able to get into that shop and make those Christmas gifts. And today, I'm making this sign right here that says, "This house believes." I can't think of a better sign to be able to make at this time of the year. Now, I'm using a number of different techniques today. In fact, one, I made a big mistake, and I had to go back and carve another section on it. You don't want to miss on how I had to go back and fix that, along with some other things that I think you're going to like. So let's get started. I want to give you a quick update on what's happening with YouTube and the recommendations. You guys have done an absolute fantastic job, and it's making a difference. A number of you have reached out and actually emailed me and said that they're starting to get the recommendations again and the notifications, and that's awesome. But I still need your help. Please continue to subscribe, like, and share. Many of you guys watch my videos, but don't subscribe. In fact, about 90% of the people that watch my videos don't subscribe. So I would please suggest that if you like the videos, please go ahead and subscribe. It's only the touch of a button for you, but it means the world to me. So please subscribe, like, and share this video, and keep up the good work. Now, let's get back to today's video. I want to make a sign today that says "This house believes." And going through Google Images, I found this one. And this actually was a high resolution, of 1000 by 1000. So I expected it to be really easy to be able to process. So with that, I went ahead and decided to open up Inkscape and bring this image into Inkscape and take a look at it. And on the surface, it looks real good. But what I wanted to do is go in and look at the edit nodes, and wow, look at all this stuff. We got extra little bits and pieces everywhere. Even in the black portion, there's extra pieces. All that needs to go away because that will affect how it's going to carve. And as I go through and look in more detail, you can see a lot of extra nodes in these lines that really should be nothing more than a straight line. And that has to get cleaned up also. So if I zoom in really close, you can see that it's really not a straight line. It's actually rather jagged, and that's what needs to be taken care of. Now let me zoom in real close and let me show you what I'm talking about. That actually is supposed to be a straight edge, and you can see all these little curves in there, and we got to get that cleaned up, and I'm going to show you how. Here's another section, same thing. And this is rather unique. This looks like a little small pockets all the way down, and that is nothing but just tons of extra nodes. And here's another example. Now, even though this was a high resolution image, you can see all the extra garbage that's in there that would cause a lot of problems if I actually tried to carve it. So what I'm going to do is just take some time and go through and edit these nodes and get this straightened out so that I can actually begin to carve it. The goal is to be able to have nice straight or curved lines for the toolpath to be able to follow without a lot of extra nodes. That would mean that it's going to save time carving, and it's going to be a much smoother, easier picture to be able to take care of. And this is what it should look like after everything is done. All those extra nodes are gone, and only thing that's left are the nice straight or curved lines. Now, to be able to do this, all you have to do in the edit node, you can put a box around the different nodes, and this is a whole big pocket, and then hit the delete key and it deletes them out. And that was one left over there, and all I can do is just highlight it and then I can delete it. But I can also just drag a box over and do the same thing again, and you're deleting lots of nodes at one time. If you get into a real small area, then sure, you can delete one node at a time to get rid of it. Now, this doesn't take a lot of time, but it needs to be something that's done before your carve, because your CNC machine is going to want to try to go to each and every node and carve it. And that's something you don't need, and that wastes just tons of time. Now in this section, this is basically almost a straight line, but there's still a lot of extra nodes. So what I can actually do is go through and delete most of these nodes along this line. And it cleans it up, and it makes it where the toolpath will be much better. So I went from a half a dozen or more nodes down to just 3 or 4. And you can see I can still delete that one, and it doesn't change the quality of the image at all, but it will improve the toolpath. And here's an example, 2 nodes next to each other, and I can just delete it out. So this is a process that you have to go through all the way through this image to be able to truly prepare it for a good carve. Now one thing I want to show you, I want to come into this area right here. You have quite a few nodes right together, and I want to be able to go through and delete some of these nodes. So I can just highlight that one and hit delete, and it's gone. And then I'll do the same thing. I'll highlight another node and delete it. Now you notice the curve of the line changed a little bit. Well, you have these little handles right here that you can grab, and you can move left and right and straighten that line out again and make it smooth. So that's another easy way to do it. So with one node and those little handles, I was able to straighten out that line and make a nice smooth curve all the way through. And then I'll just delete this little waste out and continue on. Now as I zoom into this area, you can see what I'm talking about as far as this very jagged edge. Now this is zoomed in very, very close, but what I want to be able to do is eliminate most of these nodes and straighten out this line. So I'm just going to start and highlight these different nodes, and one at a time delete it and see what the result is. And if I need to be able to straighten out the curve, then I have the little handles that I can do that. Grabbing that little handle right there, clicking on it and holding it, I can smooth that out and eliminate that little hole that was there. And same thing here, I'll delete that, and then I can move the handle and straighten it out. And let's get rid of some of the additional ones. And these little handles on the nodes is real easy to be able to make those adjustments and smooth out those lines. At the table saw, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the plywood. And again, this plywood is 5mm, or basically about 0.20 of an inch. And the size is going to be 24 inches by 14 inches. And that's what I'm going to use to be able to make this sign today. Let's get started with a new project. So I'm going to come right over here and click on Create a New File. This is going to be a single-sided job, and the size of this is going to be 24 inches on the x-axis, 14 inches on the y-axis. Now, as far as the thickness, this is 5mm plywood, which is about 0.20 of an inch. I'm going to put in 0.21. That way I can ensure that it's going to carve all the way through. We're going to stay in inches. My Z0 position is going to be on the material surface. I'm going to go ahead and keep the XY 0 position down at the bottom left-hand corner, because I have plenty of material to be able to work with for this project. Don't need anything for the model resolution, so I'm just going to click OK. I want to go ahead now and use this icon right here, and I'm going to import in the image that we had just finished working on in Inkscape, and I have it listed as Christmas Believe. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. So here is the object. I can click it one more time, grab this handle, and be able to stretch this out. The other way that I can do this is to be able to come right over here to this icon, and I can click on it, and I can actually type in the size. So I want to keep my XY link together. So let's make this, let's say 23 inches. We have a 24-inch board, and that would also change this. So let's apply that, and I want to close it, and now I want to come over to this icon and center it. And that is now centered in this workspace, and I'm ready now to start identifying what I want to be able to carve. There are two considerations. One thing I want to have happen is I want everything on the outside to be cut, and I want that cut on the outside of the object. Now, as far as these cutouts, I need these cutouts to be able to also be cut on the inside, and we're going to verify that. I want to be able to make sure that the letter itself remains as bold as I can get it. So what I'm going to do is select this inside one right here, and I want this toolpath to be able to cut on the inside of this. And I want that to happen on every one of my inside. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and go through and select them. And again, it'll cut on the inside here, and that'll go right around that letter. And then I'll do the same thing on this portion. That will be important there as well as here. This is a closed one, so that's an inside pocket as well as this one. And same with this letter. The inside of that E. And this is closed, that is closed. And that is it. So literally, I'm going to have one tool path that will carve nothing but this outside edge, and then everything else is going to be carved on the inside. So let's go over now to our tool paths, and we're going to set up the tool path for this, and then we'll set up a second tool path to cut the outside. To do that, I'm just going to click on this icon right here, and that brings me over to my tool path setup. Everything is still highlighted, and I want to use this profile tool path right here. The start depth is going to be 0. My cut depth is going to be the 0.21 inches. Remember, the actual thickness of the plywood is going to be 0.20. So this will make sure that it goes all the way through the material. I'm going to be using an 1/8 inch bit today, and I want to look through my collection and see if I have a downcut bit, because that will give me a cleaner cut. If I do not, I will use a straight bit. Either way, the 1/8 inch bit is what I'm going to use. Now, do I really need to have 2 passes? I can go over here and click Edit Pass, and it shows exactly what's going to happen. The first pass would be 0.105, and that's basically halfway through. And then the second pass would go ahead and drop down to the full depth. This actually can be edited. If I want to be able to cut this in one pass, all I really need to do is just delete that, and that drops it all the way down. Now, cutting these inside, that may be a little bit too much. So I'm going ahead and cancel and bring that back in. And I think I'm going to go ahead and leave that alone. Let it do that. The other thing that I can do is I can actually set a last pass and be able to cut a minimum amount. Let's say it'd be 0.01. And I can apply that, because I didn't do that before, and that will be able to cut that right at the very end. And now you can see where that first pass goes halfway down, then it goes down to 0.2 of an inch, all the way down to this point, and then it comes back and cuts that last little bit. Is that really necessary? Probably not, but I wanted to show you the different options here. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. I am going to leave it as it was. As far as tabs, I've shown tabs before. I'm not going to use tabs in this project. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave everything else alone. This is thin plywood. I don't need to do the ramping as well either. So I'm just going to go ahead and click down here and change the name. I want this to be Christmas Believe. And this is going to be the inside cut. And that's going to be at a 0.125. And then I'm going to calculate that. And that will show everything exactly how it's going to cut. So I can preview that, and you can see exactly how that's going to cut out. Now with that done, let's go back now and select the other tool path. We'll get back to my 2D view. I'm going to click this one. Now everything else is not highlighted. And we'll move back over to my tool paths. Click my profile again. All of this will remain the same. This time I want to cut it on the outside. And we're going to do my Christmas Believe again. And this is going to be the outside cut this time at the 0.125. And I will calculate that. And there we have that completed. So let's preview this one. So now you have the first tool path that's still there, and you can see the other tool path. And that all looks real good. I don't see anything that's going to miss. So we're going to go ahead and close this now. And the next thing on the list is I want to select the tool paths. And I want to be able to go ahead and save that tool path. And you'll notice right here, and I'm going to get closer so that you can see this. It shows the visible tool path are going to be in one file. The visible tool paths are both of these. I am going to be using the Carve per inch, which is the G code. This is perfectly fine. So I'm going to go ahead and save that tool path. And over here, it has a Christmas Believe. And all I'm really going to do is change that. So this is the Christmas Believe cut at 125, and I'm going to save that. Now it's time to go ahead and go over to the machine, and we can get this ready to carve. Let's take a look and see if I have a bit, and what bit can I use. I have all my down cut bits here. This is my 1/8 inch. So yes, I have an 1/8 inch down cut bit that I'll use. And I'd rather use that than use the straight bits over here. So that's good that I have that. And let me grab the wrench. To be able to secure this project to the wasteboard today, I'm using the Starbond medium thick glue. And this bottle's almost empty, so I'm going to try to use the last of this. I may have to grab another one. I'm also using the Starbond accelerator as well as my blue painter's tape. Now I have a link in the description for a discount code where you can receive a 15% discount off of your purchase. And yes, I do receive a small amount of money from that, and that helps to support the channel. And to be able to use this method, is very, very simple, and it holds extremely well. All I need to be able to do is put one layer of tape right here at the bottom. I'm also going to put another layer of tape, and I don't really need to go quite all the way to the top to be able to hold this. That should do it right there. And because I have quite a few cutouts that's going to go and become loose, I'm going to put another 2 pieces in the middle. Now that should catch all of the dropout pieces when it cuts on those inside pieces. The other thing is, this has a little bit of movement up and down, so this plywood is not laying exactly flat. And by using the 4 strips, it's going to make it where that will really stick well to the surface of the wasteboard. Now the next thing is to do the same thing. I'm going to put down my tape on the wasteboard. So I'll put one piece there. And then just to kind of get an alignment, my second one will be right in this area. So you can see how that will line up. So all you need to be able to do is just put a thin line, and that takes care of it. Well, I might have enough. And I do. So I'll still have a few drops left, so I'll save that for the next project. Now I take this board, and I'm going to take the accelerator and spray it. And it doesn't take much. And then I just simply turn it over and place it right where I want it to be on my wasteboard. And I do have lines marked that I use on a regular basis. And that's it. So now I just press it in position, hold it there for a few moments, and I'll be ready to carve. And there it is. It's stuck and it's ready to go. I've opened up USG, and I'm just going to go ahead and bring the machine down now to my XY0 position. And I'm going to double check to make sure that that's exactly on my home position. And this is a position that I use on a regular basis, so I know that that is actually set. So now what I will do is just come over and reset. Right now it has my work position is 0 and Y is 149.859 millimeter, which of course is not correct. But because I know it's in the correct position, all I need to do is just reset my X, reset my Y, and those two are now set. Now because this is 5 millimeter plywood, I can't use the 3-axis probe. But what I will do is use my Z probe and go ahead and get that done now. And to be able to do that, I'm just going to move up a couple inches, and I'll move that up by 1 inch, and I'll move it over an inch. And then I'll go ahead and set up for my Z probe. To be able to use this is very simple. All I need to do is just plug it in here, connect my clip to this point, and have the touch plate underneath. From there, I'll go over to my macros, select that, and I will select this one right there, and it will start my probe. And there it is. My Z-axis now is done. So I'll just go ahead and remove this, unplug it, and I can go ahead and put it away now. And then I'll just move back to my XY0 position. Right now this is 15.875 above my Z. So what I need to do is go ahead and come over here and move that down. I need to change this to millimeters. That's very important in this one. And I want to move this the same distance, 15.875. And we're going to go down on the Z-axis. So all I need to do is click this. But I'll show you this over here. And that now has it set right exactly at my home position. So I am actually ready to carve now. The other thing that I want to do is show you right here. It does have my Z-axis at the 0 position, as well as my X and my Y. Now I went ahead and opened the file, and I have that loaded in. What I want to do is just come right over here to the other side of the screen, click on the visualization right here, and that opens up this window. This window shows me exactly what it's going to carve. This right here, the yellow bar shows my XY 0 position, and then it shows what it's going to look like as far as the carving. And I think this is going to look real good. So I'm ready to be able to carve this. I can close this out now. And all I need to do, because everything is set, is turn the machine on, and I'll just hit the send button. Now I went into a little bit more detail today on how to be able to set the machine up, because I've had numerous questions on how to be able to set the machine up using the probe as well as the universal G-code sender. So a little bit more detail, but this works really well. I'm enjoying using the V-Carve, and I'm enjoying using the universal G-code sender because quite frankly it actually is very, very easy to be able to use. Now I do want to point out one thing. Did you catch the mistake that I made? If you didn't, stick around a minute because there's one piece that I missed. You know, when you do the videos, you're concentrating so much on being able to get the camera just right and all the details that sometimes you miss something on the actual work. And that's the case on this one. So if you didn't see it, you'll catch that in just a moment. But as far as what is supposed to carve, it's doing extremely well. And it doesn't take long to do it. And you can see by fixing all of those nodes that the tool path is very straightforward, very smooth, and it cuts exactly the way it should. Do you believe? This house believes. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Now at this point, I still haven't caught my error. Have you caught it? There's one piece that's going to miss, and I still did not realize it, even at this stage of the carving. So here we are. The carve is finished, and I just now realized that the center portion of the S on believes did not carve. Dumb mistake, but it does happen. So now we gotta fix it. And that took just 12 minutes and 23 seconds to carve. Not bad at all. Now I did see one error because I didn't get the cutout on the very last letter. So I'm going to go back and make that correction and then come back and carve that. And I can't believe that I missed this, but here is the item right there that I missed. Everything else looks great. So what I'm going to do is create a tool path just for this, and I'm going to send it back over as a separate tool path and carve that. And I want to take these off. That leaves me just this one profile. And now I'm going to close that, and I'm going to save this. So I have visible tool paths. I have the 1N mill, and I'm going to save that tool path. Everything else is the same. And I'm going to just come over here. I'm going to change this to believe 1, and then I'm going to go ahead and save it. And now we're going to minimize this program, and we're going to go back and we're going to browse and pull that up. And this is it right here. We're going to open it. Okay, I went ahead and visualized that, and you can see the path. This is my XY0 position. It's going to go over and cut that one item and then return. So we'll close that out and we'll hit send. And there we go. Now we have a perfect carve. So it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to be able to make a change. Now I'm going to go back into the V-carve on that tool path where I was doing those cutouts on the inside and change that tool path and add that little one into it. So next time I carve this, it'll all be completed. And then I'll also go in and delete that file that I had created just for that little spot. Now you can see just how well that this glue and tape method holds. But it also, when you grab it and release it, it's not that difficult to build to release. Now the actual sign itself, because it's smaller pieces, you do want to take a little bit more effort with it. But again, you can see how it just lifts right off. Now I hope by doing this today, this will answer a lot of the questions that people have had about using the glue and tape method. A little bit of sanding to touch up this, and it'll be ready to paint. So do you believe? Santa's coming, it won't be long. I think bright red is going to be the perfect color for this sign. So I'm taking it outside, set it up so I could spray a couple of coats of the red on this face, but I didn't want to have to wait. So I grabbed a hook from the inside of the house and came out, and you know what? I'm going to spray the front and the back at the same time and hang it up so that I can have this sign finished. This was a lot of fun to do today, and I hope that you guys have been able to learn a few things along the way. Merry Christmas, everyone.